World War II was one of the most devastating conflicts in human history, a global firestorm that lasted 6 long years and claimed over 70 million lives. But how did it all begin? How did the world descend into such chaos, and what finally brought it to an end? Let's journey back in time to uncover the story of this monumental war. Our story starts not in 1939, but in 1918, at the end of World War I. Germany, defeated and demoralized, was forced to sign the Treaty of Versailles. This treaty wasn't just a peace agreement. It was a crushing weight. Germany lost territory, was ordered to pay crippling reparations, and its military was severely restricted. Imagine a nation on its knees, its people feeling humiliated and angry. This fertile ground of despair is where our next chapter begins. Amidst the economic turmoil and national resentment, a powerful speaker named Adolf Hitler emerged. As the leader of the Nazi Party, he made a series of promises that resonated with the German people. He promised to restore their pride, to defy the hated treaty, and to build a new, powerful German empire. By the mid-1930s, he had seized absolute control. In secret, he began rebuilding Germany's army, all while promoting his dangerous ideology of racial superiority. But Germany wasn't alone. In Italy, Benito Mussolini's fascist regime was already in power, and in the East, the Empire of Japan was aggressively expanding its territory across Asia. These three nations, Germany, Italy, and Japan, would soon form a pact known as the Axis powers, united by their ambition and military might. The stage was set for a conflict that would engulf the entire planet. The first domino fell on September 1st, 1939. Germany invaded Poland. In response, Britain and France declared war on Germany 2 days later, officially marking the start of World War II. The German army, using a terrifying new tactic called Blitzkrieg, or lightning war, overwhelmed the Polish defenses in a matter of weeks. The speed and brutality of the assault shocked the world. With Poland conquered, Hitler turned his gaze westward. In the spring of 1940, his armies swept through Denmark, Norway, Belgium, the Netherlands, and finally, France. The fall of France was a major blow to the Allies. By the summer, it seemed as if all of Europe was destined to fall under Nazi control. Only one nation stood defiant across the English Channel: Great Britain. Determined to break British resistance, Hitler launched the Battle of Britain. For months, German bombers pounded British cities in relentless air raids. But the Royal Air Force, though outnumbered, fought with incredible courage and skill. They defended their skies, and eventually, Hitler was forced to abandon his invasion plans. It was the first major defeat for the Nazi war machine and a crucial turning point. While Europe was ablaze, tensions were rising in the Pacific. Japan continued its campaign of conquest, invading China and eyeing the rich resources of Southeast Asia. The United States, though officially neutral, opposed Japan's aggression. The situation reached its breaking point on a day that would live in infamy: December 7, 1941. In a stunning surprise attack, Japanese forces bombed the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. The attack was devastating, crippling the U.S. Pacific Fleet and killing thousands. The very next day, the United States declared war on Japan. In response, Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S. The conflict was no longer a European or an Asian war. It had become a true world war. The war was now fought on multiple fronts across the globe. In June 1941, Hitler made a fateful decision. He launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. The German army initially made staggering gains, pushing deep into Soviet territory. But the brutal Russian winter and the fierce resistance of the Red Army brought their advance to a grinding halt. The turning point on the Eastern Front came at the Battle of Stalingrad. From 1942 to 1943, in one of the bloodiest battles in human history, Soviet forces managed to encircle and defeat the German Sixth Army. This catastrophic loss marked the beginning of the end for Germany in the East. From that moment on, the Soviets would begin their long, slow push toward Berlin. Meanwhile, in the deserts of North Africa, British and American forces were locked in a deadly struggle with the brilliant German general, Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox. After a series of hard-fought battles, the Allies finally secured victory in 1943. From North Africa, they launched an invasion of Italy. Rome was liberated in 1944, and Mussolini's fascist government crumbled. In the Pacific, the tide was also turning. The United States, having rebuilt its naval power, began to push back against Japan. Decisive victories at battles like Midway and Guadalcanal halted the Japanese advance. The U.S. adopted a strategy known as island hopping, capturing strategic islands one by one, each bringing them a step closer to the Japanese mainland. By 1944, the Allies were ready for their most ambitious operation yet, the liberation of France. On June 6, 1944, the largest amphibious invasion in history began. Over 150,000 Allied soldiers landed on the beaches of Normandy under heavy fire. Despite immense casualties, they secured a foothold. Within months, Paris was liberated, and the Allied armies began their final push into Germany. By the spring of 1945, Germany was being squeezed from both sides. The Soviets were advancing from the east, and the Americans, British, and French from the west. Trapped in his underground bunker in Berlin, with his empire collapsing around him, Adolf Hitler took his own life on April 30th. Just over a week later, on May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally. The war in Europe was over, but one Axis power remained. Japan, despite facing certain defeat, refused to surrender. U.S. military planners feared an invasion of the Japanese home islands would cost millions of lives on both sides. In this desperate moment, President Truman made a monumental decision to use a new terrifying weapon. On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on the city of Hiroshima. The devastation was absolute. 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. Faced with this unimaginable power, Japan finally announced its surrender on September 2, 1945, officially ending World War II. The world that emerged from the rubble was forever changed. Cities were in ruins, millions were displaced, and the true horror of the Holocaust was revealed to a shocked world. In the aftermath, nations came together to form the United Nations, hoping to prevent such a catastrophe from ever happening again. The war also gave rise to two new superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, setting the stage for the Cold War. World War II was a stark reminder of the cost of hatred and aggression. It taught us invaluable lessons about courage, sacrifice, and the absolute necessity of safeguarding peace. Remembering this history isn't just about looking at the past. It's about understanding our present and building a better future. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into history. We'll see you in the next one.